Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Facebook Live. It's Mark. It's Sunday. And our question this morning is concerning goals and intentions. And this question came from, can't remember the person's name, but here it is. Hi, I have a question about the innocence of TM. I get the idea is to have no intention or goals and not to try to force anything. However, when we talk about cosmic consciousness, that starts to sound like a goal to me. Am I missing the point? Okay, you're not missing the point, but we just need to expand out a bit. And there's two ways to view this. Now, bear with me 1 second. I just want to see if anyone's watching. Oh yes, we have some viewers. So, goals and intentions. What we have to do is view this from two sides. One is during the meditation, the other is outside the meditation. During the meditation, there is no need for goals or intentions. It doesn't mean that there's, let's just keep it at that. There's no need for them during the practice. There is a value, of course, in intentions and goals outside the practice. So we just need to differentiate between the two. So let's start with outside the practice. Now, excuse me. When I personally learnt Transcendental Meditation, I was 19 and I learnt out of curiosity. That was my motivation, you could say. I went to an introduction. The teacher stood up, gave a talk. I don't recall anything he said, but he had a quality that I felt like there's something there that I've not come across before. I want to know what that is. So there was there's an intention there. There's a kind of a searching, a seeking, a curiosity even. So that brought me or motivated me to go and take the course to learn TM. That's the value of an intention or a motivation or a desire. We want something, so we pursue that, or we take some action to sort of move towards the fulfillment of that desire, or that sort of hunch, even an intuition leads us forward. That's the place of intention and desire, is outside of the practice. When I actually learnt TM, I didn't practice for a reason apart from enjoying doing it. Now, a lot of people I teach now come for some sort of reason. They're stressed, they want to be less stressed, they feel like they have writer's block, they want to unblock, they want to sleep better, whatever. So there's a reason, and that brings them first to find out about TM, and secondly to learn it and do it, and then to practice it. There's a reason. And so that is perfectly valid and has a place, because that's generally how life works. We have some sort of desire, and then we take some action towards fulfilling that desire. Whether it works out or not is another story, but generally that's how we work. We're in we have a life, and desire is the river that flows that leads us through life. And if we're practicing transcendental meditation, then maybe we have some sort of motivation or desire or intention that underlies the reason that we do it. And that's fine, and that's kind of natural. It doesn't have to be there. if you're someone like me who just likes doing it, in a way, the practice is its own fulfillment. Of course, you might also have changes in your life, but for me, that was a side effect, a side bonus. And it was the doing of it that was its own satisfaction. It's a bit like if I take a cup of tea in the morning, I take the tea because I love the tea. Some people take tea or coffee because they need to wake up. So there's a slight difference there. And you can have one or both, or one or the other, or both together, and that's fine too. So intention and desire, motivation, they all have a place within the grand scheme of things. And so that's fine, that's natural, and we don't need to address that in a way. It's sort of embedded. I think what is more helpful to answer is do I need intentions or goals during the practice whilst I'm meditating? And this is where we can say no, we don't need that. The best analogy I've come up with is if I live in Brighton, London is 60 miles roughly north. If I want to go to London and I don't want to take the train, I'm going to drive. If I'm driving to London, then maybe I want to avoid the motorways for whatever reason. So I map out my route, or I go onto the Google Maps, set it out before I leave. I set out my journey on Google Maps. I punch it in. I get in the car and I click start, and then the sat nav tells me turn left, turn right, da 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 da. It's even smart enough to know the traffic. And then I arrive in London whenever I do. Now, I do the preparatory work before I get in the car and start to drive. And the reason for me going to London, let's say I want to go to the cinema, that reason gets me to set up Google Maps, get in the car. Once I'm driving, really I should be paying attention to the road, and that is the safest and most efficient way to get to my destination. If I'm consistently thinking of the film that I'm going to see whilst I'm driving, it might not be such a good idea, because really I should be attentive to my driving. And when I've arrived, then the journey has reached its fulfillment. The motivation, i.e. to arrive at the cinema, there we are. I'm at the IMAX, safe and sound. Now, in a way, when we're meditating, the reason for us meditating gets us to sit down and start. But then once we're meditating, we don't really need that reason anymore, because the practice looks after itself. The practice does not need our intention, because the practice stands alone. We just do the technique. Embedded in the practice is the fulfillment, and that will be realized outside of the meditation, if you see what I mean. So I think that's the good analogy, is whilst we're meditating, just follow the procedure. Simple, easy. The questioner used the word innocence. So innocence means not needing an agenda. Of course, I might be occasionally thinking of my reason for meditating. That's thoughts, nothing wrong with thoughts. But I don't need to consciously or intentionally kind of bring up my reasons for meditation. They're not required, because the practice takes care of itself. We are almost entirely surrendering to nature during meditation. All we're doing is thinking this mantra correctly, which is very simple and easy. All the work is done by nature, and the more we let nature do that, the better. Hence the use of the word innocence. Innocence means not trying to achieve something. That's one of its meanings in this context. Not trying to achieve a state, not trying to get somewhere, not anticipating a state. It's not required, because we are surrendering, we're letting nature take care of this, the whole thing, because it knows best. It knows best. I think that's the simplest way to look at it. And if we're talking about higher states of consciousness, specifically the questioner mentioned cosmic consciousness, we could have many definitions and discussions about that. Let's just say it's a transformed state of consciousness. If that's the reason that we're meditating, it's a fine reason. The fruition of that goal will be carried out by nature during meditation. We just do the practice. The transformation of consciousness is done by life itself, and we're part of that, but we're just doing the practice. We don't need to sort of do anything to make it go faster, as it were. So whilst I'm driving to London, thinking about the film is not going to get me there any faster, really. It may even slow things down because I'm distracted, and really I should just be attentive to what I'm doing, which is very simply driving the car. Whilst I'm meditating, very simply doing the practice, and then the fruition is found once I've finished. I hope this makes sense. I think this is the most clean way to explain the system. Let me just see. I think I'll end the answer there.